Okay, so this isn't just for you. This is for me. So, if you watch a lot of YouTube videos, I'm sure you've seen the camera YouTubers always talking about stop using your cell phone, stop using your cell phone, get yourself a nice DSLR camera. And they say it over and over and over again. But what actually is the difference? Have you ever wondered that? So I decided to take all the different levels of cameras that I actually have, and I'm going to do a comparison, specifically a comparison on 5 separate cameras. So the cameras we're going to be looking at is the iPhone 8 Plus, a very basic Canon Point and Shoot. We're going to go up to a little bit higher level of point and shoot with the FujiFilm Finpix. This one's a few years ago, but it's one that we have through the classes that I teach, so it was easy access for me. And then we're gonna move up to a DSLR, specifically the T5i, and this is a crop frame camera. And then we're gonna make another big jump to the Sony mirrorless A7 III. Now I know that you're probably thinking, that's a big jump. You went from point and shoots iPhones to a mirrorless crop frame, like where's the full frame DSLR? They're expensive and I don't have access to one. So we're just gonna go with this big jump and you'll just have to test it out on your own. I'm gonna do a whole other video about comparing my DSLR to the mirrorless camera, but that's not for this video. We're just gonna be talking about just image quality, period. If you had to look at all these images, which one would you like better?
Okay, so the first ones we're going to look at are actually with no editing whatsoever. So these are just the raw photos. I did bring my Sony picture into Lightroom just to export it as a JPEG because Premiere cannot read the raw file that Sony makes. So I pretty much took every picture as like high detailed as they possibly could be taken. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go in and see how easily they can be edited. So I have, as you can see, all my different cameras labeled over here. And so we're going to start with the Mini. So I'm going to go to this one. And I've made a preset, and I've already set the preset for this one. So we're going to go to Develop. And this one, this is what it looks like before the preset. It's a little washed out. It struggles to focus. If you look on the edges here, you've got a little bit of distortion, but that's not too terrible. It's not that bad. And so here is the preset I made. So it's a pretty simple filter. You can see over here the editing isn't too extreme, very minimal. Most I did was in the curves to kind of crush the blacks a little bit. Let's zoom in on it now to see how it looks. I also upped the luminance on it too, so it looks a little less crystalline. Alright, so let's move on to the next one. Alright, so now we're going to go on to the T5i. Again, here is the preset that I made for it. We reset it. This is what it looks like before. You can see a little bit more. It doesn't look quite as crystalline. You get a little bit more sharpness. So now once we put this on, same preset, you can see just a little bit more to it. There's just a little bit finer detail. And we're going to look at these closer again, like side by side. Alright, moving on to the next one. So the Fujifilm. The Fujifilm was an interesting case. So here is my Fujifilm example. Remember in the last one how we could see these individual granules? We can't see that so much anymore. But it still looks pretty clear. Let's go to the preset. Here's the preset. We'll reset. Preset. Again, we lose just a little bit more of that detail, and I don't really understand what happened right here. Reset it. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't seem to happen on any of the other ones. But again, I do have to say I was very impressed with what the FujiFilm Finpix did as well. The iPhone. Alright, so here we're going to use this one for the iPhone. I'm going to zoom in. So the problem with the iPhone is we struggled a little bit with focus. This is the iPhone 8 Plus, and as we kind of pop around, there's not really an area that just is crisp, which is the only issue that I kind of had. So let's see if there's a different one. So yeah, we'll probably have to maybe use this one to see how it goes. Let's see how the preset works on the iPhone. It actually kind of makes it look a little bit better, but when we reset it, you can see it almost looks like a watercolor filter. And this was not edited at all before I brought it on to, there we go, that's a little bit better. Alright, moving on to the Sony. So here's the Sony A7 III. We'll put on the preset. I'm actually surprised to see how the preset actually really dulls it down a little bit. I'm going to actually export 2 versions of this. I feel like the preset did the least for the Sony A7 III, which actually was an interesting result. Here's the one where I went in a little bit carefully and edited individually. Much subtler editing needed for this one. As you can see, like we looked at the other preset, look at the curves on this. I didn't even touch them. So we'll see what that means in the final look through. Alright, so the first 2 we are looking at are the 2 Canon comparisons. So this is the Canon T5i and this is the Canon Mini. So this is the little point and shoot. So remember, this has been edited exactly the same. This is with the exact same editing software, exact same preset, and at the exact same time, exact same settings. So this is the Mini, and this is the Canon T5i. I understand, yes, of course I did get closer to this one than I did in this one, but I feel like I can forgive myself for that. The next comparison we have is the iPhone 8 Plus and the FujiFilm Finpix. The biggest problem I had with the iPhone was how plasticky it made everything seem. And this is from someone who believes in taking pictures in whatever you can find, but here's the starkest comparison. This is a pretty cheap Fujifilm, and you can see the flowers are dramatically better than in the iPhone. Alright, so here is the Sony A7 III next to the iPhone. I'm going to zoom in. Whoa, not that far. I'm going to zoom in just a little ways to kind of see it full screen. If I zoom in a little ways on this one full screen. So here is what we're looking at close up. Kind of the detail shift between the Sony and the iPhone. First of all, the 2 comparisons here, this is the preset I used for all the other ones. This is a very light edit, so I did like half the amount of editing that I did on the other cameras. And to be completely honest, I do not know why that happened. I have a lot of things I could theorize of why the preset that made all the other flowers really bright and vibrant made the Sony one really flat, but I'm not exactly sure. So this is the Canon T5i next to the same preset. This was the exact same preset used on both of these, and then this is the Sony A7 III to the Canon T5i with the lighter preset versus the one that I used for all the other ones. So I would say these 2 are probably my favorite, just because I did less work on this one, and this one just looks really nice. I love how crisp this one turned out. Canon T5i was my first digital camera that I got on my own, and this is a full frame versus a crop frame. So you can see with crop frames, pretty pictures are still possible. But I think I was very surprised by the iPhone, to be completely honest. I thought it would compete a little better, to be completely honest. I was really expecting just a little bit more of a competition from the iPhone. Here's another iPhone picture. I mean, this is a little better, but still, look, it just looks like it was put under a filter.
So there you have it. The mystery solved. I was really curious to see what is the picture quality that you can get out of like the lowest camera you can possibly buy versus like the highest camera we could possibly buy. I mean, I probably could have added a toy camera in there too, just to have some fun, but maybe I'll do that another time. I mean, the toy camera would obviously be really bad, but that's beyond the point. So yeah. Those are all the different camera styles. If you really liked looking at these and maybe you really liked a specific camera, now you know a little bit more about it. All right, have a great day. Bye!